Hey, we're here with another episode of Before You Buy. As usual, it's me, Jake Baldino, and today we're talking about a little sci-fi story game called Tacoma. I took an interest because it's from developer Fulbright, and it's the follow-up to their last success, Gone Home. You probably heard about it. People have really strong feelings about that game in a variety of different directions that I'm not gonna get into, but if you hate Gone Home or just walking simulators, it's fine. I get it. That's a discussion for a whole nother video. This game just probably really isn't for you. I thought Gone Home had a decent little emotional story worth experiencing, so I was actually kind of pumped to see they were moving into sci-fi storytelling territory. What we have here is, for me, an ambitious bit of world and character building that kind of ends before it begins with a lack of emotional payoff. But what exactly is Tacoma? You're an independent contractor sent to an evacuated space station, and it's your job to gather up AI and onboard data for physical extraction. Once you dock, you navigate around in first person and link up to the station's augmented reality display network, which also recorded every single thing on board. It's then up to you to gather the information and figure out what really happened on the station and why it's abandoned. Exploring this unsettling Tacoma station is the biggest aspect of the game, and it's one of the best. They, lovingly built a full space station here that's practical and tells its own story in a sense. It's quiet, it's eerie, but still kind of pretty while also feeling realistic. Visually, too, it looks fine. There's just enough lighting and atmospheric effects to make it all feel a bit unique. The main mechanic of the game is finding corrupted AR data and playing it back to see what went down in particular scenes in moments in time. It sort of feels like acts of a play or a sitcom where you can follow characters into other rooms and continue seeing what they're doing while other people and conversations play out in other rooms. Through your AR interface, you scrub through scenes in front of you with wireframe digital representations of crew members, and it kind of feels like you're Batman in an Arkham game, like replaying a crime scene, reconstructing it bit by bit with holograms and stuff. It's a lot of talking, some of it really mundane at first. It can feel like a lot to dig through, but once it gets going and things start to piece together, it can get pretty interesting. You get to know these people through their work and romance relationships with each other and ultimately what went wrong here. The voice acting, too, is pretty great at selling it. Since you're only really seeing abstract representations of people, their performance really has to sell it, and they do a good job of being interesting. You also get to know these people through exploration of the station. This was very much a Gone Home thing, and it's a Tacoma thing. It's clearly how these devs like to tell their stories. You know, office, crew quarters, rec rooms, garbage pails filled with job rejection letters, postcards from home, accessing terminals with text messages and emails and all that. It all gets you small glimpses into the crew members' lives. The gameplay is really pretty light, you know, it's about the story, but you can pick up and examine objects and then find keys to open more secrets and keypads with codes to hunt down. The pacing is a little weird. I would have liked exploring the space station to be one big thing, but I guess for the narrative they had to constrain it here and there, and I get that, but it's felt a little bit more less notable in other games. Here, you're gonna want to bounce around, but once you go into certain areas, you're blocked off from leaving, and it's up to you to find every little clue and detail in the story before you can move on back to the main space station hub area, and that just kind of annoyed me. I don't know, sometimes I got frustrated with exploring a room and I wanted to go piece something together somewhere else, but unfortunately I couldn't. The whole thing is a fairly light romp that doesn't take itself too seriously, and it sets up an interesting world in the not too distant future where corporations collect videos of you as public data and all big companies in the world own everything or something. If you're a loyal customer or employee, it actually factors into your kids getting into college, and there's a whole movement also behind protecting the civil rights of sentient artificial intelligence. Little elements of sci-fi here are really interesting. Your onboard ship voice is very cool. The AI system Odin that populates the space station is also very interesting with a really cool voice. Little touches here and there just seem like they were made by a true 100% sci-fi fan, and that stuff I really appreciated. It's trickier to explain some of it, but it sets up some interesting things. But unfortunately, and this is personal opinion, but the story seems to end just as it starts to get interesting. You finally get an understanding of the world and what's going on, and then it just ends. I kind of just reacted at the ending revelation okay. It's an interesting story, but there was no emotional payoff whatsoever for me. I didn't really care much because I didn't really get enough time to know the characters as much as the whole game was really designed around getting to know them. I just still didn't really care. The end revelation itself is set up buried in notes and emails and lore in the world, and if you miss some stuff, you just don't really get that punch. And again, it just really didn't land for me. Really interesting stuff about capitalism, corporations, corporations, consumerism, and humans and artificial intelligence existing side by side. All of that stuff is touched upon, and it seems like it's potentially very interesting, but it's never really explored it very far at all. Maybe it's all just hit or miss like their previous game. Gone Home's story beats worked for me, but they were subtle, and I can understand how they wouldn't really do much for other people. And I'm on the opposite end here with Tacoma because it just didn't do it for me. It's a nicely built, well-made little slice of game, but I just wanted and kind of expected a little bit more. I still think if you are into more linear story games and walking simulators and stuff, you should maybe check it out because there is some stuff to dig through here, and maybe the meaning was lost on me and you might find something else. You could play through it all in one sitting, maybe 1 or 2 hours. It took 3 for me, but that's because I play really, really slowly and I got stuck a couple times. But you know, that's how Before You Buy works. I give you some pros, some cons, and some personal opinion, and now I definitely want to hear yours down in the comments. Let's talk about this game. First of all, how do you feel about these games? If you were the type of person that goes for a game like this that is very much just a story, what do you ultimately really want from it? What are you expecting of Tacoma, and if you have played it, how do you feel about it? Are you siding with me, or did you get more out of it? Because if you did, I want to hear what exactly worked for you. Let's talk about anything Tacoma down in the comments. I'll be there talking to you guys as usual if you got any questions, but if you got more for me, hit me up on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Jake Baldino, as usual. You know, coming around here for these Before You Buys helps me out. Clicking that like button does too, but subscribing is also good if you're new, because we put out stuff like this all the time. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.
Trust people more. AIs are the same way, right? They're raised differently from each other?
Yes, we are each uniquely evolved, individualized entities.